The Minnesota Vikings reportedly, officially introduced Kevin O'Connell as the 10th head coach in Vikings franchise history on Thursday afternoon. He said some things. We have some thoughts on the things that he said, hence reaction to KOC's introductory presser. And yeah, he won the press conference. It's really hard to lose a press conference unless you're Adam Gase, but what can you do there? And I'm fired up. I was fired up about Kevin O'Connell throughout the entire process, and I'm ready to run through a wall, and I'm sure that the players will as well. So we got some thoughts on some things that he said. First up, Chris Thompson, Pioneer Press. Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell, there's got to be collaboration, says that's the number one thing in working with the Vikings brass. And I feel like Kevin O'Connell sold them in the interviews, and I feel like the Vikings definitely wanted to move on from the compartmentalization at the end of Spielman and Zimmer not talking to each other, just not getting along. This is going to be a group effort. This is going to be the triangle of everyone. This is going to be a kumbaya. I think Kwesi understands that. I think that's what got him the job ultimately here with the Vikings. I think that O'Connell understands that. That's what ultimately got him the job with the Vikings as well. That it does take a village to raise that Jerome Barty. Ooh. Put that one down. Will Raggett, Sports Illustrated. KOC, if you're consistent in your approach, in your process, it's easy to come to work on Monday and figure out how to get better. So Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell in their pressers, very impressive. They could easily be not even Fortune 500, Fortune 50 executives. Like, they're super slick. They should just head over to 3M and fix things over there. But yeah, of course, all the buzzwords, collaboration, synergy. I don't think he said synergy, but yeah, whatever. Thomason, go. Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell said he will create a culture in which he expects on players that they'll want to be around their coaches. And that's something that stood out to me as well about the coaching staff that they are putting together, where, some coaches certainly get a reputation for being hard to deal with. Think about like the Todd Haley's of the world, etc. But every single one of these guys, like, you've either heard positive things about their relationship with players and coaching staff, or you've heard nothing, which is also kind of a good sign. And then next, so this one stood out to me. Harkening back to the fear-based culture or whatever was going on at the end of Zimmer. So in 2019, Scott Studwell, longtime Viking scout, also longtime great Vikings linebacker, go up and look up some box scores from Scott Studwell. Dude would have 25 tackles in a game. Like, how is that possible? But Studwell, longtime scout, he was director of college scouting for a long time, and he retired after the draft in 2019. His final draft pick was 7th round pick Austin Cutting, the long snapper out of Air Force. That one worked out. And then it's kind of surprising because Studwell said that he wanted to spend time with his family, which is the reason why everyone says that they're retiring. But was he sort of pushed out? So O'Connell was shouting out a couple of Vikings greats that were in attendance. McDaniel was there, Bud Grant, of course, John Randall, and Studwell was there too. And Kevin O'Connell said this, quote, "Hopefully we get Studwell back around the facility a little bit more now that we're moving on from some of the difficult times we've experienced the last couple of years." And that stood out to me because how would he know? How would Kevin O'Connell know about the difficult times they've experienced over the last couple of years? And from his tone, he clearly was not talking about, just losing the last couple of years. So apparently he's already being indoctrinated with some of the gossip of what was going on in the facility. He did mention that he and Studwell visited in O'Connell's office before the press conference. So maybe there was some dirt McGirt going on there, but man, we're just scratching the surface. I think over the next couple of years, there's going to be so many Spielman and Zimmer stories coming out. It's just because if the Vikings actually push Studwell out, no. Like, I understand you want to be raising up Jamal Stevenson. He was a stud as well, but I mean, Scott Studwell was that guy. I mean, come on, man. You don't treat your people like that. Will Raggett's on Kirk Cousins. Well, no. Whatever. Kevin O'Connell confirms that he'll call plays. Nailed it. Yeah, the least surprising thing from this press conference. Says everything from being a backup quarterback in that league to being around Sean McVay has prepared him for it. Also, he called plays for 11 games in 2019 in Washington. The system that we run here will have a lot of characteristics of what we did in Los Angeles, namely winning the Super Bowl. And we've said, we'll get to Kirk Cousins, but we've said that Stafford and Kirk Cousins, like the Venn diagram of their overlapping skill set, it's almost a complete circle. It's almost a perfect circle, man. Ben Gessling. So the perfunctory Kirk Cousins question. So Cousins and O'Connell worked together in Washington for a couple years. And of course, Kevin O'Connell says he's anticipating Kirk Cousins be a part of what we do. And of course, that's easy. There's no reason to anticipate that Stephon Diggs is not going to be a Minnesota Viking. We have no intention of trading Percy Harvin at this time. Okay. Well, I actually do believe O'Connell that he does want Kirk Cousins here with his history, as well as with the type of quarterback that succeeded in the offense that worked with the Rams. I understand it. I get it. But I think that all options are still open. Like, I still think that it's 90-10 that Kirk Cousins is here, 90% that he's here, 10% that he's gone. We'll see. Courtney Crone, go. Kevin O'Connell on Kirk Cousins. I know he's under contract, and I'm excited to coach him. I discussed how he worked with Cousins previously and the traits he believes the quarterback has to be successful, the desire that he has to build around him. He also talked about the similarities between Cousins and Matthew Stafford. Here we go. Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell. I see Kirk being able to do a lot of things that Matthew Stafford just did with the Rams in the offensive system, like hoisting that Jerome Barty. Just un time out in my lifetime. And then I can take that dirt nap. Will Raggett, Sports Illustrated, go. KOC says he's got a vision of what he wants to do on defense. We're going to force turnovers. That's playing with great effort, finishing plays. Said Ed Donatel would implement a coverage system that's hard for offenses to go against. And that's something that's really refreshing that I love, where Kevin O'Connell, even though he's going to be calling plays, he's going to be very involved in the offense, he's going to be the head coach of the entire team. Offense, defense, special teams. He's going to have his hands in everything. Where I don't think he'll be a micromanager, but the fact that he has to be responsible on game day for everything, and the buck stops with him, and you can't just, like Zimmer, on defense, and offense, run the ball. That's it. Nah. Next up. Talking about some of the players. Chad Graff, The Athletic. Kevin O'Connell says he views Harrison Smith as a perfect player for the defensive structure we want to play. And the Rams defense, the Rams secondary this year was not great. They lost Johnny Johnson. They brought Eric Weddle back out of retirement. Weddle called defensive plays and played with a torn pec in the Super Bowl. That's how thin they were at safety. So now you got some nail drivers. Harrison Smith still has a couple good years of football left in him. Cameron Bynum is rising up. So I think that the Vikings do have a nice safety duo back there. Maybe they even bring back Xavier Woods on a cheap deal. Who really knows? But Harrison, a little bit of a pay cut or restructure. We'll see. And then also Thomason. Vikings coach KOC brought up that he likes linebacker Anthony Barr, who's an impending free agent. No. Unless it's a league minimum, because he's already on the books for a cap hit because they added void years to his deal last year in the restructure. It wasn't a restructure, it was a pay cut. But, well, if they move to a 3-4, which we'll get into in a sec, maybe. Can we unleash Anthony Barr the way he was supposed to be used when he came out of UCLA? Maybe. We'll say maybe there. And then on the defense, Ben Gessling. KOC said the Vikings were on a 3-man front on defense, but also said the Vikings want to be able to shift to multiple fronts, with teams being in nickel so much. He said the Vikings will spend plenty of time with a 4-man front in sub packages, and that's perfectly fine. Like the whole moving to a 3-4 is a misnomer because teams will spend 60-70% of their time in nickel anyway, because nickel is the new base. So yeah, you will see some 3-man fronts, you'll see some 3-3-5 nickel, but you'll also see some traditional 4-2-5, or it'll be 4-2-5 in that you'll have like Daniil Hunter standing up as an edge rusher, or DJ Wanham standing up as an edge rusher with 3 down defensive linemen. So I'm fired up. Also, you look back, you have Ed Donatel, Chris Rumph, and Mike Pettin, like we've talked about, all have a 3-4/3-man front defensive background. So that's easily connecting the dots of what the Vikings are going to do. So there's going to be a lot of changes on defense. And then lastly, Courtney Cronin, O'Connell used the same collaboration buzzwords similarly to the way Kwesi Adofo-Mensah did during his introductory presser 3 weeks ago. He wants to show the shared vision between the two. So how will they approach free agency and the draft? Adofo-Mensah, side by side. Yeah, the Arnold Carl Weathers handshake pick, where at the end it seemed like it was every man for themselves with Zimmer and Spielman just doing whatever. And we said at the time, Spielman's draft picks and then Zimmer suddenly not having the time of day for his draft picks. I don't think that was a surprise. And then the FU re-signing of Kyle Sluter at the end of the season, where Zimmer famously just never got along with Kyle Sluter, even though, why would you constantly denigrate your backup quarterback who's showing promise? Why? I don't understand that. But Spielman could have signed any backup quarterback in the world, any of them, and he brought back Sluter just as a last FU. great, man. But yeah, overall, Kevin O'Connell, like, it's hard to mess up a press conference, like we said, but I'm fired up. I think that you see why the Wilfs were so interested in Kwesi. You see why the Wilfs were so interested in Kevin O'Connell. They're both young. They're very well spoken. They're very eloquent. They're very charismatic, and you understand, like we talked. We mentioned this before. You notice how so many Rams assistants are coming with Kevin O'Connell, where they could have stayed in LA with Sean McVay, reigning defending Super Bowl champions, but they're following Kevin O'Connell up to the frozen ass north after they've had nice weather in LA for these last couple of years, and taking over a snake-bitten franchise that's 0-4 in Super Bowls, hasn't been to one since 1977, and they're like, we're gonna follow you, man. We're gonna follow you into hell. Why did I call that hell? I live here. But anyways, it just shows the type of leader that Kevin O'Connell is. So, yeah, good times. Now let's get your ass to work, man. We're already behind. But your thoughts are thoughts. Reaction to Kevin O'Connell's introductory press conference as new Vikings head coach. Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.